welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Latifa Taramina with Concerned Citizens. Welcome. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
And just quickly, you said you have a birthday coming up. You're going to be
90.
90. That's incredible. You have so much energy and so much spunk, and you look amazing. So good for you.
Thank you.
Goals for life. Absolutely.
Well, keep busy.
Yes. So tell me, why is it important for you to be involved in this club with Concerned Citizens?
Well, what got me into it is they had a talk some year when I first arrived here in 2016, I think it was. I wasn't sure what I would be doing here, and I knew they had clubs. I was trying to get my feet on the ground, like, where am I here? And they had an event where they brought in a speaker about peace or something, and I thought, oh, because I had been involved with Peace Day stuff, I thought maybe they would be interested in doing a Peace Day event. And so I went and talked with the people then on the board. Margaret Perlman was one of them. We met in her house, and I talked about what I had done in Austin years ago, at the Poems for Peace, and a Peace Day program that built the Poems for Peace in Austin led to a big community-wide celebration called Peace Day Austin. And so this was the idea of how would we do a Peace Day Laguna Woods? And could we start that with a celebration on Peace Day? And they liked the idea. And then I had also spoken with, because what we had done included performances, Carol Glenn, who does the old prose. Because I'm a theater person, so I'd gotten in touch with her. So I thought, oh, maybe we can all work together with the old prose and the Concerned Citizens. We could build a Peace Day celebration. So we did our first Peace Day celebration under the Concerned Citizens sponsorship, but in partnership with the Old Pros and other organizations here. And that was done in Clubhouse 1, I guess, years ago, in 2019, whenever it was that I first got here. That was the first Poems for Peace we did. And then we had to do it again. The following, so it began a tradition.
So it's every year now?
Every year.
It's an annual event?
There's an annual celebration of Peace Day. But this is the first year that we've been able to get a clubhouse on Peace Day. We never could get our date on the actual Peace Day. So this one is. So it calls for a big celebration.
What is the background with Peace Day? Like, how far wide and reaching is it?
Well, I got involved with Peace Day quite by accident. Back when I was still running this art service organization in Austin, the Austin Creative Alliance, I'm at home looking around on my computer, and I see this story about peace one day, and a man named Jeremy Gilley in England who was inviting NGOs to be a part of what he had done, and the story of how he got the UN to fix a date. Like, he was the one. The UN had a Peace Day starting in the 80s, 1982 or something, but it was like the second Tuesday in September or something. It didn't have a fixed date. Gilley had an experience of taking medicines to people in Afghanistan, and it took them forever to negotiate a truce along a 4-hour drive. It took them months to get nobody to attack them while they were driving to deliver the medicines. And that was like, what if there was one day when everybody could lay down their arms? One day of no fighting. And he started lobbying for that. But to do that, you had to have a fixed calendar date. So he finally got the UN and Dalai Lama and all kinds of people behind him. And in 2000, like September 7, 2001, the UN voted, yes, we'll make Peace Day 21 September every year. And they announced they'd hold a press conference in the next 4 days, and Kofi Annan would come down and ring the peace bell and announce this to the press. So 4 days later, Gilley is standing outside waiting for Kofi Annan to come ring the peace bell and make the announcement with other people. He's standing there, and 2 planes flew into the Twin Towers, and everybody had to run for their lives. But he didn't give up. He went back. He thought, we've got it. We've got peace one day. He went back and started to build his program. That's what turned me on, that he didn't quit, that he kept going with his dream, with his vision, that we have to keep going with these things. And when I read his story, he was inviting anyone who was involved with an NGO anywhere in the world to link with Peace One Day in the UK and be affiliated with their program. So, if you're that, click here. Well, I was working with this little NGO, Sika, and I clicked on the button, and it said, "What will you do? Here's a form you have to fill out." So I'm filling out the form, and it says, "What will you do for Peace Day?" And Poems for Peace popped into my head, so I put it down. The next day, I had all this material from Gilly, all this marketing material I could use, all these things I could say, we're affiliated with this, and here's the label, and here. It suddenly made us part of an international movement overnight. And on top of that, I had a special link that I could give to all our participants to his closing concert that he was going to do in UK. Who was doing the closing concert? Elton John. So suddenly, I have this backing of Peace One Day and Gilly, and Sika's, our initiative is part of that, and Elton John. My goodness. So now I'm empowered. Well, I had this arts organization. I knew the creative community, so I called a friend of mine who was a director. He was the one that did the column everybody read about what was going on in the Austin Chronicle, the weekly paper that went out that had all the art stuff in it. And he was a director. I told him, and he said, "Oh, that's a lovely idea." So he organized the program. I had nothing to do with what he did was very smart. He picked 6 people. One was a poet, and the others were actors to read. He told them all he wanted 10 minutes of poetry. He didn't know what they were going to do. I had links to the Performing Arts Center, and I could get the little theater to use. And I had because of what I did, I knew how to get grant money to support them so they could get paid something. And it just all kind of fell together. I didn't know what they were going to do till the day they did it. He didn't know what they were going to do either. But he was 6 people, 10 minutes, it's an hour. I mean, then with applause, it's a little bit longer. It was just.
And were the poets?
One was a real poet,
okay.
and 5 were actors,
okay.
Who all picked 10 minutes worth of poetry.
Okay.
The local poet read his own poems, and it just clicked. It just and part of it, because everybody was doing this, at the last minute I had this feeling. But what about the group that's producing this Sika thing? What are we? Because I was the only one involved. And I thought, well, one of our values, like love and respect. So full of this feeling of love and respect. On the way to the theater, I got flowers and goodies for the actors backstage and things like that. And I just had this feeling, and I was sitting in the audience. But afterwards, people came up and they said, "What is this? Who are you?" So they were touched, so that got me. Then I was doing it all the time. Oh, so, there's one other thing we did when we started, and I brought this. We did this. This was our logo, and we launched this
Peace. And this
contest.
was back in 2012.
This was back in 2012, and we launched a poetry contest. This was a bookmark, and we sent this all over the country to bookstores and had people. We offered a $500 prize. And a guy who had a magazine said he would publish the 2 top people. So some guy in Arizona or New Mexico got the prize. I never knew who he was. And another.
Perhaps launched some careers that day as
well.
Who
knows?
That's exciting. So
that was how we had started it all.
This is so exciting, and you're hosting a special Peace Day event. We don't have a ton of time left, but tell us about this event that is going to come up here in Laguna Woods.
It's going to be on Peace Day, and it's going to be in Clubhouse 7, and it starts in the afternoon, and we have the Old Pros again is involved in organizing the what's on stage, but what's on stage are people doing poems. And so some are actors doing poems, and some are real poets in our community doing their poems. And then we have 2 guest poets coming from out of town. One is named Emmanuel Williams. He's been considered a California performance poet. He's British. He has a very outgoing way. I can't imagine him doing anything that doesn't engage the audience like that. And the other poet is an Iranian poet who's a friend of one of my friends, who lives up in Northern California, Ruja Mohasesi, and she has a book out. She's been interviewed on NPR. She's really quite, and she does not wear a hijab. She's not into any of that. She's against all, I mean, she left when the Shah fell and all that. She left Iran. And so she has friends in Long Beach, and she will be here in that. So she said she would be happy to come. So those are our guest poets. And then, so what's happening, we open, it begins at 3 o'clock and the doors will open at 2:30.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we have a mingle. We're calling it a mingle where we open up the room adjacent to where we'll be performing for a wine and cheese party. The poets will be able to sell their books and sign their books there. There will be food for everybody. Everybody can talk and have a good time with everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Latifa, for being here today and giving us all this information. This sounds like such a wonderful event.
It is.
Just to recap, this is the annual International Day of Peace featuring Poems for Peace. This Thursday, September 21st at 3 p.m. And this will be in Clubhouse 7. This event is free, so please bring a friend.